Well, finally, here it is, the third of the 3 recipes that I had experimented on and gave you the option to vote for which ones you wanted to see first. This is my light zucchini bread, soft, tender, and full of flavor. And let me tell you, it was worth the wait. So if you'd like to see how this is made, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my journey. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that can help me on a weight loss journey and hopefully you as well. Now today I am going to be doing the third of the 3 recipes I tested a few weeks ago. This recipe came in third in the voting, but a lot of people were eager to see it. So today you are going to be getting my zucchini bread. Now, this is not going to be exactly like your typical zucchini bread. A lot of times breads like zucchini bread or banana bread can be a little dense. This is not going to be that way. This is going to be light and fluffy, and you'll see why, because of a secret ingredient that you've seen on this channel before recently. So you won't be too surprised, I don't think, when you see it again. But let's go over the ingredients. I have here my cooking spray. I have a 9x5 pan here, a loaf pan. That is what we're going to be baking this in. I'm also going to be showing you, the first time I made it, it got a little dark around the edges. I'm going to show you how you can combat that if your cakes or breads start to get too dark around the sides. I'll show you how to correct that. Here I have 1.5 cups of flour. That's just regular all-purpose flour. Here I have 1/2 cup of sugar replacement. I'm using all-purpose in the raw, but whatever one that you use that is a 1-to-1 swap for sugar is fine. Here I have 2 eggs, and those are at room temperature. All of my ingredients are at room temperature, especially for baking. You really want that so that they will come together more easily. Here I have 1/3 cup of unsweetened applesauce, and you could use pumpkin puree as well. You could also use mashed banana, but it will give a little bit more of that banana flavor to the bread, so I try not to do that with zucchini bread. But if you don't mind that, you can use that as well. Here I have 1/2 cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt, and it doesn't have to be plain. You could do a flavored one, but I do recommend using the non-fat. But if you don't worry about it. Just put it into the recipe builder so that it comes up with accurate nutrition facts. Here I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that may seem like a lot of baking soda and baking powder, but it's going to really help this give it a rise, as is 1 teaspoon of vinegar. Now, I'm using apple cider. You can use white or apple cider. Both are mild enough that it's not going to impart any flavor. You're not going to taste any vinegar. What it's going to do is react with the baking powder and baking soda and really give us a lot of lift and make this nice and light. Now you could do without the vinegar. It will just make a slightly denser cake, which is more traditional. So if you want to do that, you can, but if you want it a little lighter, then use the vinegar. And here I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract. Now I like the flavor that that little bit of almond extract gives, but you could replace it with vanilla extract. You could also add some orange extract or lemon extract. Those would work really well in here, but I really do like the little hint of almond in this bread. Last but not least, I have here 1 medium zucchini, and that is about 8 ounces. That should be all I need, but I do have another one standing by just in case I need a little extra. I'm also going to be showing you a little gadget that Paul got me that is going to help me to shred that. Now, when I first came up with this bread idea, I wanted to use that little gadget that Paul had gotten me and make zucchini spirals. I thought I could do that. It didn't have that attachment. So then I had this shredded zucchini, and I thought, what am I going to do with it? Zucchini bread, and that's how this was born. But those are all of the ingredients, so let me shuffle a few things around and we will get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to shred our zucchini, and we want to do it onto a towel because you're going to want to get some of the excess moisture off of this. So I have my little VEKAYA shredder and grater. It has like other attachments that you can do besides shredding. Now this is not sponsored, I just really like this, so it is in my Amazon storefront if any of you are interested. One of my favorite things about it, not only can you detach the top for easy cleaning, but it's got this little lever down here so that when you put it down on the counter, you turn this and it clings to the counter so you don't have to hold on to it and try to get it to stay stable. So see, no movement. All right, so going to start off with shredding the zucchini. Make sure my towel is going to catch it, and just turn and shred all of our zucchini. Unlock this, get that out of there. Now I want to measure to make sure I have enough, and I am going for 1.5 cups of zucchini. You just want to loosely pack it in. You don't want to cram it in. You don't want to have too much. So there's half. Okay, so 1.5 cups, and I do have some extra, so I'm not going to save that. I'm going to get rid of that and then bring my towel back and start drying this off. All right, so I have my zucchini all laid out. It's very moist, so all I'm gonna do is fold over the edges and press down just to help squeeze out any extra moisture. If your zucchini were really wet, for some reason you'd wanna take it and wring it out, but it shouldn't be that wet if it's a fresh zucchini. So you can see there's some moisture on this side. Just gonna use the other side that is dry and press out any more moisture that I need to. And it doesn't have to be super dry. You're not looking for that. You just want any excess moisture to be removed. So there is our grated zucchini. Now what I'm going to do is bring in a small bowl. We're going to start off with the wet ingredients: the eggs, yogurt, applesauce, sugar replacement, vinegar, vanilla, and almond extract. And just break up those eggs and whisk this all together. You want all of this well combined, especially those eggs. You want to make sure that those are broken up and spread throughout this mixture. And as you saw, I did add the sugar replacement in with the wet ingredients. I've mentioned this before, that oftentimes sugar or sugar replacement is considered a wet ingredient because it will disperse throughout the liquid. Whereas if you added something like flour, the flour would absorb the liquid. And so we are looking for this to be spread throughout all of the liquid here. Okay, so the liquid is done. I'm going to bring in a larger bowl, and I'm going to add the dry ingredients: flour, cinnamon, baking powder, baking soda, and salt, and whisk that all together. And it's fairly easy to tell when everything's incorporated when you've added cinnamon, because that cinnamon color is spread throughout, and it's like very pale brown. That looks good. Okay, now to the dry ingredients, we're gonna add in our wet ingredients and just mix this together with a spatula just until it comes together. You want to overmix baked goods because that will make them tough. So just until it comes together and you don't see much flour. And I'm going to add in the zucchini and mix that in. Now you could add nuts, you could add in raisins, you could add in dried cranberries. It's your call, but just mix that together just until you get that zucchini incorporated. Now I'm going to let it sit for just about 5 minutes. So that way the vinegar has a chance to react with the baking powder and baking soda, and it'll get some reaction going to give us more lift. And while that's happening, I'm going to gather my things to show you how to make it so that a cake or a bread or things like that don't get too dark on the outside. So give me a second, I'll be right back. All right, so I have a length of aluminum foil that should easily wrap around my loaf pan. I also have here a length of paper towel that I have wet. But what I'm gonna do is take this and fold it over a few times to make a thick strip. And then I'm gonna fold the aluminum foil over it and just get that all secure. Now, what this is gonna do is the moisture in the paper towel is going to have to evaporate before the sides can start to get warm. So this way it's going to keep the sides cooler for a while and allow the bread to rise and bake without the sides getting too dark. You don't have to do this, but if you find that the sides of your breads or cakes or whatever are getting too dark when you take them out, then this will help to correct that. So we're just going to take and wrap this around my loaf pan and just crinkle that in place. And you don't have to worry about it being tight on there, but you do want it snug. All right, so our bread batter has had a little time to rise. It's gotten a little puffier than it was. We're gonna add this into our pan and then just spread that out to make sure it is in an even layer. And now this is going into a 350-degree oven for 45 to 55 minutes. I will start checking it around 30 just to make sure that it's not cooking too quickly. And if after that 30-minute mark you find that it's getting too dark on the top, you can just loosely lay a piece of foil on the top for the remaining bake time. But this is going in for 45 to 55 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, there we have it, my zucchini bread. Gonna get rid of that foil that I don't need any longer. And now we have to let this sit for about 10 minutes in the pan before we take it out and let it cool completely. But it's got a great golden color, and you can see it bounces back when I tap it. Now, if it wasn't done, when I pressed into it, it would hold on to that indent of my finger, but because it bounces back, you can tell it's done. You can also check the doneness with a toothpick, making sure it comes out clean. It may have like a little tackiness on it, but it will look clean. Or if you want to be more precise, you can use an instant read thermometer. You want this to get done to about 200 to 205 degrees to make sure that it is completely baked. But I'm going to let this cool for a few minutes while I talk to you about the nutrition facts, and then I'll take it out and show you what it looks like. Now, if like me, you have problems slicing breads into even slices, then you can always make these into muffins, and I will have that listed in the description box under the notes, how you can make these into muffins if you'd rather not worry about slicing them. Now this is going to serve 12, and for each of those slices, it is going to be 2 Better Balance Bites or 2 WW points. I didn't see anything in there that was now 0 on WW that isn't on the Healthy Better Balance plan, so it should be the same for both. Now, if you were following calories, the calories for each slice would be 85. And if you are following macros, the fat would be 1.1 grams. Saturated fat would be 0.3 grams. Protein would be 3.6 grams. Carbs would be 22.7 grams. Fiber would be 0.8 grams. And sugars would be 2.1 grams for 1/12 of this bread, or for a single muffin if you decided to make them as muffins. Now the recipe for this, of course, will be on the blog. I will link directly to the recipe down in the description box. There's also a link to the blog itself. There are other links down there as well, like my Amazon storefront, my 2 stores, my cookbook link if you want to purchase that, and my social media is also linked down there. So check out that description box for all sorts of information. Well, it's been maybe a little less than 10 minutes, but I do want to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to turn it out onto our cooling rack, and you can see the lovely color on the sides. Now, if I didn't use that strip of foil with the paper towels, it probably would have been a little bit darker than that. And I also want to show you the texture. You can see the sponginess, the lightness, the fluffiness of this bread just by my pressing down on it. It's much softer than a typical zucchini bread. It's easy, delicious, and nutritious, so why not give it a try? So I'm gonna let this cool down before I slice into it, although it's gonna be tempting not to, but I know it'll be worth the wait, and I hope that you'll be enjoying some yourself very soon. So until next time, bye.